G'day guys and welcome back to another mod list video, and today we're going to be going through 15 scary Minecraft mods. Let's get started. Moving into our first mod, we've got CreepyPastaCraft Reborn. Now CreepyPastaCraft adds in a collection of interesting mobs that we've seen from creepypastas of the past. For example, mobs such as Jeff the Killer, Jane the Killer, Slenderman, Squidward Suicide, Smile Dog, Laughing Jack, Mothman, Eyeless Jack, and so many other different mobs to add into this one. So most of these are pretty much on a freaky side of the scale of just interesting mobs you may or may not want to deal with. You may just go like, oh okay, see them in the overworld, go, not a fan, bye bye, leave me alone, don't like it. Or you might be like one who gets a bit freaked out from them, but there's a good collection of different types of mobs in here that are based off of the creepypastas that we all know from the past. And hey, if you've been enjoying this video thus far, I'd like to ask you guys to hit the subscribe button down below, as it really helps out as we're trying to get to 100,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and also leave a like whilst you're down there. Continuing on though, we move on to our next mod known as the Abyss 2, the other side. Now this is a dimension based mod that adds in this interesting / creepy new dimension that has a collection of new mobs, dungeons, as well as a bunch of other bits and pieces over there. Not only does it add in a bunch of new mobs as well, it also adds in a bunch of new armor, new tools, and new other bits and pieces as well, and it's ultimately a very interesting and pretty expansive mod to explore, mainly because it adds this entirely new generation to go through with this new dimension, these massive awesome boss mobs that you can find, and so many other bits and pieces along those lines. Moving into our next mod, we have a mod known as Zombie Players. Now this mod adds in one very simple feature that ends up adding in the ability for when a zombie kills a player, a zombified player will spawn in place of the death of that player. So you might respawn back at your typical spawn, but now there's suddenly a second variant of you in the world that's also wearing your armor and bits and pieces along those lines. That is now a zombie. Now these can also spawn naturally in the world like zombies, using a configurable as well, so that could be definitely interesting. They can open doors, and they can also try and work with chests as it remembers what it used to do. So basically speaking, it's a smarter zombie that can do some things that players are able to do. But another more interesting thing, there's also the ability to calm it down and actually use it to help defend your base, but I'll leave that to allow you to configure that out for yourself. But the zombie player will wander back home trying to resume normal activity of what it once was, so you might go home with a beautiful surprise in your base. Moving into our next mod, we have the Headcrab Mod. Now this adds in a single mod to the actual game, which is very simple. It adds in the Headcrab. You may or may not know what the Headcrab is, but basically he's trying to go after your head so he can infect it and take over your body. Now overall, he'll just continuously try and attack you in the head, and it's pretty easy to avoid, but one of the other little quirks about this is he will also go after zombies and can also infect said zombies and make a Headcrab zombie, which is definitely pretty interesting to say the least. And there's also a few other bits and pieces such as a trophy and a Headcrab hat that you can also get from the mod, but that's about it to this one. Now moving into our next mod, we have a mod known as Tissou Zombie Pack. Now I guess technically speaking, this isn't exactly a mod, this is more of a texture pack, but it takes advantage of some features that comes from Optifine in order to give you something a lot different than just your bog standard texture pack. This texture pack will actually change up how zombies act and will make them spawn far more uniquely than what they would normally, whilst also adding in a bunch of new sounds and so many other bits and pieces along those lines that kind of just change up everything about how zombies, husks, and all those act up in Minecraft itself. Moving into our next mod, we've got the Henderson Mobs mod. Now this just adds in a bunch of beloved cryptoids from the works of Trevor Henderson, which includes the well-known Siren Head. Corruption blocks will now spawn in your world, which can hatch into the following: a crawler, a chicken head, or a siren head. There are also new creepers who will look nothing like vanilla creepers that will start spawning around the world. Basically, it's got a good handful of different mobs from the Trevor Henderson arts that we make, that you know and love, especially Siren Head, which had a pretty popular meme about a year or two ago. This mod intends to bring those characters to life in a far more interesting and potentially scary way in Minecraft, so this could lead to a far more interesting experience when you're playing around in the game. Moving on to our next mod, we've got the mod known as Direbats. Now this is a far more interesting mod that adds an interesting spin to bats themselves. Now overall, they're still far peaceful than what most mobs are in Minecraft, but this time around they're around 5 times bigger than the average bat. But be very careful though, if you accidentally put a torch down near them, they will come out and start attacking you because they're not quite a fan of light and they do a bit of damage. These mobs are pretty freaky and are pretty big in comparison to your average bat, and whilst are peaceful for most of the time, can definitely be a bit freaky whenever they start going after you. Especially when considering the fact that whenever they attack you, they inflict blindness on you, but they will drop their fangs, which you can create some fang arrows that inflict blindness to the targets that they hit. You can also grab items with their talons, but it will drop them whenever they get hit. Moving into our next mod, we have a mod known as Hardcore Darkness. Now this is only here for one simple thing, and it's to make Minecraft pitch black. Whenever you're walking around without any form of torches, whether they're not placed or whether they're not in your hand with dynamic lighting from Optifine, the entire world will be pitch black and you'll barely be able to see. Now one of the biggest things that comes with this is that first off, you should probably have Optifine when playing around with this mod so you can at least have light around you. Whilst it may not be everywhere else, you can at least see where you're going right in your general direction by using the dynamic lighting feature from Optifine. But the other side note to this is that this mod does not function well with shaders because it kind of changes how the gamma and all those type of settings work entirely. Kind of like how even though you put it at like 1,000,000 gamma so you can see everything anytime regardless of the time of day or whether how dark it's meant to be, the shaders always null and void ignore that type of thing. Basically speaking, this is a very cool thing where you can have a dark nether, a dark and a dark twilight forest if you have that mod installed, and many other different things where it's just like you can pitch black the world at certain times throughout the day. Moving into our next mod, we've got a mod known as Bloodmoon. Now you might be familiar with this type of feature from a collection of other games, for example, but not limited to, Terraria and Breath of the Wild, and many other games have probably got this feature as well that I'm not quite aware of. But the basis idea behind this is every night there's a 5% chance that a blood moon will rise. Now of course this chance is configurable in the config settings, and during the following night, mobs will not only spawn far faster than before, being there's far more mobs overall, they also spawn far closer to the player. The spawn limit of monsters will also be far higher, which pretty much allows it so that all mobs spawned on the surface and the surface only are going to be far more confined, and there's going to be far more of them around your general location to be very wary of. So these type of nights you're going to want to hunker in at home and get out of sight, block your doors, because there will be far more zombies willing to break them down, especially when you're in hard mode, and so on and so forth. Overall, this is a pretty cool themed mod, and it's honestly surprising we don't have a feature like this in Minecraft normally yet. Moving into our next mod, we have a mod known as the Epic Siege mod. Now the main idea behind this mod, or the main concept, is it's made to enhance the AI of a majority of mobs, and there's some new interesting features that mobs will attempt to do in order to get to you, making mobs far more scarier than what they normally are. For example, when we go over to creepers explosions now are napalm/fire, meaning that they will actually set fire to blocks around you, and creepers, instead of just simply waiting for you to be in the line of sight, they'll actually blow up walls that you are potentially trying to hide behind to make it so other mobs can get to you easier. Other interesting features such as that is that skeletons will actually have sniper-like accuracy, meaning that they're far less likely to miss you. Zombies can now dig and pillar up to you or location, and spiders can also web their victims to the ground, slowing you down. But if we want to take this AI enhancing just a step further, we also have this mod known as Zombie Awareness. Now this focuses more in on what zombies do as a mob instead of what most mobs do and enhance them. Instead, we have zombies that are going to be far more intelligent in comparison to the regular zombie. For example, whenever you get hurt, you will spill out blood, and if you're low health, you will start to bleed out every once in a while, which the zombies are going to be attracted to the scent of your blood. They will also be attracted via sound sources, and it will alert other mobs to your position. Examples of this is mining, placing blocks, explosions, bows, crossbows, eating, doors, gates, notes, records, buttons, levers, pressure plates, tripwires, and so many other different types of noises, including zombies. Any form of light sources a zombie will actually walk up to in an attempt to investigate to see if there's anything around there, especially if they see it from super far away, and so many other interesting bits and pieces that make zombies far more scary and far more interesting to come across in the overworld. Moving into our next mod, we have a mod known as Mob Amputation. Now this just adds in a little bit more of a gritty type of Minecraft look, as whenever you attack a mod, there is a chance that you'll actually break off parts of their body. For example, when you're killing a zombie, its head will come flying off, and the zombie will just walk around for a brief moment before it dies. It also allows, depending on the weapon, different types of of limbs to be cut off at the same time. For example, skeletons can have their arms fall off as well, which could lead to some pretty interesting things. It's just really a visual effect overall though, which is ultimately pretty cool. Moving into our next mod, we've got the mod known as Eyes in the Darkness. Now the main idea behind this is just adds in another little bit of a creepy thing to Minecraft. Now this ultimately won't actually hurt you damage wise, but it can definitely catch you off guard and put you in a position where you're vulnerable to other mobs in the area. Basically speaking is that there will be eyes that will spawn in the darkness areas, and if you see them, make sure you look directly at them. When you look directly at them, it will force them to disappear, but if you walk up towards them without looking directly at them and then look away, they will basically give you a jump scare. Now these jump scares vary from 1 to 1, can ultimately be like something very small or something that lasts a decent amount of time. Basically speaking, blacking out your screen, jump scaring you, and putting you in a very vulnerable position for any mobs that may potentially be nearby in the darkness. Moving into the next mod, we have a mod known as Weeping Angels. This is themed after the Weeping Angels from Doctor Who, which will move around whenever you're not looking at them. Practically speaking, what they look like normally is just a stone angel statue. Whenever you're looking directly at them, nothing's really going to happen, but whenever you're not looking at them, they will teleport you to a random place in a random dimension if they get too close to you. Basically speaking, they will follow you around until they can get close enough to actually trigger this effect and teleport you. Now if you get yourself the item known as a timey-wimey detector, it will ding whenever there's an angel near you, giving you a word of warning before you get teleported to a random location. Weeping Angels can only be hurt with a pickaxe or can be zapped out of reality with the 𝓵𝓷𝓷𝓰𝓼 generator, ultimately adding a new mob that will catch you off guard on several occasions. Moving into Mobends, now this is again one of those cooler mods that has a bunch of different other variations and reasons why it exists, but the more of the freaky aspect of this is the fact that it gives whole new animation to a collection of mobs. Now I lied last time when I showcased this saying it gives a new animation to all mobs. That was wrong, that was incorrect. Actually, it gives them only to a few different mobs, but these mobs are very interesting. First off, it makes spiders far more freaky than normal, ultimately giving them the ability to jump around, climb up walls in a far more interesting fashion, whilst also giving zombies the ability to chase you in a very wacky way, ultimately adding in some pretty cool animations that can really just change up and give you this different atmosphere when it comes to playing Minecraft that makes it just a little bit more freaky. So if you did enjoy this video, make sure to click this video on screen where we go through 10 underrated Minecraft mods, and until next time guys, bye bye!